where is the limit? Where do we look at our spiritual leaders and we go, this is where I disengaged, and you're ashamed of who you are, so you sneak around. None of these people are resolved.
But for a woman deeply rooted in her purpose and self-awareness, silence is not a sign of weakness. It is a declaration of power.
You keep choosing wrong people to be your spiritual leader. Recently on the Epstein files, Deepak Chopra email came to prominence.
God is a construct. Cute girls are real.
Obviously, a multimillionaire, it's a person who made his fortune by being a spiritual leader, by being someone who figured it out, who cracked the code. His whole thing is about awareness, consciousness. His whole thing is to be present and aware, so you make choices that are good to you.
She reclaims her energy from distractions, from drama, and from people who do not deserve access to her sacred space.
But this keeps happening where these spiritual leaders are actually flawed, and we keep forgiving them. Now, I know there is a lot of talk on how nobody's perfect, and even spiritual leaders will come with their own set of flaws. And I can accept that idea. I can have a good idea, framework, or something that I figure out about life and still be a flawed human being. I can accept that. What I cannot accept is someone who doesn't live the very thing that they preach.
In silence, a woman becomes attuned to her own heartbeat, her intuition, and a system of thought, and the whispers of her soul that are often drowned out by the world's expectations.
I only met her in the streets 2 weeks ago, Epstein texts Chopra. I liked watching you zero in on your prey. Made me smile.
In case of Deepak Chopra, regardless of what he might have done, it's obvious by this email that his relationship to girls or girlhood or women is an objectifying one.
Incons is a system of thriving energy instead of wasting it on those who will never value her words.
January release shows that the emails and texts between Chopra and Epstein were extensive and strongly implied that girls were involved.
And I really don't care if this is a boys being boys situation. I don't care if he's just kitchen table talk when he talks to Epstein. He's obviously not walking the walk. I'm not quite sure, but I would say most of his niche must be women. How can one take advice from a person who sees her as either a sexual object? If you don't have consciousness, awareness to look at me as a human, equal human being, does any of what you say is even relevant?
The question isn't whether these people committed crimes. That's for investigators to determine. But here's what we know they did. They chose to associate. They chose to buddy up because everyone knew had pled guilty to crimes against children.
We keep forgiving people when it comes to these spiritual leaders and when it comes to these gurus. We forgive too much. If you look at anything by Deepak Chopra, you'll see that most of it is actually just word salad.
Science is now in a process of overthrowing the climactic overthrow of the superstition of materialism. That everything that we call matter comes from something that is not material.
You're literally so wise.
That the essential nature of the physical world is that it's not physical. That the essential stuff of the universe is non-stuff. Call it what you will.
Made for comfort. Made for you to feel like you are achieving something. His actual help is not there, as his own consciousness and awareness of what's wrong and right is not there. If he had any regrets on sending those emails, or maybe, who knows, allegedly going to those parties, he would have talked about it. That would be the right thing to do. He would have mentioned it. When it comes to abuse of children, people who talk about children all the time to excuse the things they hate, then they'll excuse the predator. They'll invite the predator, the creepy uncle, to the dinner table. They'll go to the spiritual leader workshop. They'll close their eyes to the priest who's been a bit handsy. And we keep going because we believe in dogmas more than we believe in ourselves. I understand that nobody is perfect, but where is the limit? Where do we look at our spiritual leaders and we go, this is where I disengaged? And normally I am a person who will separate the artist from the art, I'll be actually, maybe sometimes I'll sin for being too forgiving as well. So what's the difference here? I feel like the main difference is these spiritual leaders, your local church, they're supposed to have the moral higher ground, but then on the back end, they do not. So why would I listen? Why would you listen? And all these spiritual leaders are so out of hand with everything. The Joe Dispenza is not even a real doctor. He calls himself doctor. I mean, he's a chiropractor. I guess he could be considered a doctor, but I've looked at his books. The graphics don't make sense. So editing me here, if you look at this graphic, could you even call it a graphic? It's the results before and after meditation. This is presented as a scientific thing. All of these circles are the chakras. Well, chakras have different sizes and it's supposed to be if they are aligned or not. The book doesn't say how did they measure this, what machine was used, how many subjects it was. It's just this illustration of this idea of alignment, but what is even a chakra in this context? What is this measurement of more to the right or more to the left? And this all is disguised through the illusion of science. There's no science here. There's no measurement here. It's just artifice. They are all crooks. The science that he's talking about, I don't think it exists. And if he needs to hide himself behind a title of being a doctor, because his whole thing is science and spirituality coming together, why would you believe anything he says? Why would you follow him? Why would you give him money? He can't even be real with himself. He couldn't even be a real doctor. Shout out to chiropractors. Now what do we do? One of the things that Epstein Files is doing is to finally break the illusion that any of these people believe in anything that they're saying. And that goes for spiritual leaders, for these politicians, for these conservatives. None of them believe in the things that they are saying. They want you to be well behaved. They want you to be in line. They want you to be worried about being present and whole and holy, while they'll do whatever they want with their millions that you paid for. The truth that is coming out is not only what they did, is the bondage that we've been connected, listening to these people who lack awareness, who are not grounded in themselves, who don't have morals. When I say morals, I don't mean sanctimonious moral. I mean something that you believe in. Understanding what you're doing in the world. It doesn't matter if what you preach is very pretty, if you then go and rape a bunch of girls, allegedly. I always been suspicious of any spiritual guru. I went to a Catholic school and it was very early that I've seen that what you preach is not always what you do. That was always excused with nobody's perfect. Well, then get out of your high horse. Stop writing your books. Come down here and be unperfect with us. But you cannot, because your vanity and your ego want you to be in the pedestal, and you're ashamed of who you are, so you sneak around. None of these people are resolved, none of these people are trying to help you, and none of these people in the Epstein Files care about you. So next time you think the problem is trans people, or Gen Z, or people of color, any letter of the LGBTQ+, if you're worried about your bathroom, that a trans person is going to come in, just remember who told you that, and remember in what files they are. None of these people have cracked the code. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.
What is